today on drug-related charges as President Donald Trump insists the U.S. is in control of Venezuela.
Also, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, directs management of the University of Ghana to reverse a recent fee increment for the 2025-2026 academic year immediately or face possible sanctions.
Member of Parliament for Ayawaso East constituency, Nasir Tur Mahama, laid to rest following his death at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a period of illness. It's News Central, live on TV3. I'm Kamini Amana.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Let's begin this afternoon where U.S. President Donald Trump has warned Venezuela's new leader, Delcy Rodriguez, that she could pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro, if she doesn't do what's right. His comments came as the country deposed Nicolas Maduro is set to appear in a New York court later today. Maduro and Flores, his wife, are charged with in the U.S. with narco-terrorism, conspiracy, cocaine importation, conspiracy, and weapons offenses. Trump has threatened further military action against Venezuela, as well as against Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro. He also warned Mexico it must get its act together. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has insisted the U.S. is not at war with Venezuela after airstrikes in Caracas on Saturday led to Maduro and his wife being taken into custody and transported to the U.S. On Saturday, Trump vowed the U.S. would run the country until a safe and proper and judicious transition was possible. Trump also promised U.S. oil companies would move into the country to fix infrastructure and start making money for the country. Let's listen to excerpts from the speech of the U.S. President Saturday dawn.
At my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice, but captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave. We needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America.
Well, that's the U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's speak to Vladimir. Dr. Vladimir Intridanso is an international relations expert. We have two actually joining us via Zoom and on phone. But we're starting with Professor or Dr. Vladimir Intridanso, and then I'll go to Professor Draman Kipo shortly as well, who's joining us on Zoom. Doc, your immediate thoughts as to the manner in which this entire operation was conducted and the concerns about it flouting international law, amongst other things?
Well, certainly, this cannot be justified by any extenuating circumstance. International law upholds the forceful use of power to claim territory. I mean, it's clear in our UN Charter that the inviolability of borders is sacrosanct. It's something we have all accepted. So for the U.S. to use this method to capture the head of state of another country, this is not the first time, though. It cannot be accepted under any circumstance. International law upholds this. And we must all, be angry about what is happening, because in the long run, it sets the precedent for the principle of might is right. I can't imagine under any circumstance where this one can be justified, the use of force in international relations. It cannot be justified by anything. If Maduro is illegitimate in the eyes of America, it doesn't mean he is illegitimate in the eyes of his people. And he has sovereign immunity. He cannot just be taken away the way they have taken him away. It's not the Venezuelan people who did this. It's a foreign country that sends troops, aided by collaborators from within, perhaps, to capture a ruling head of state. It's unfathomable. And I believe we all have to be angry about that.
Well, one of the justifications he raises is that Maduro, despite his illegitimacy, which you've spoken to, waged war against the U.S. It's an argument is made and has served as a fundamental basis upon which this action has been taken. I want to pick your thoughts on that, and also what the reaction of the entire world as well has been, because it's been silent in great part and just mere statement in terms of condemnation.
Well, the use of force has been codified. We all know under what circumstances you can apply force on a foreign country. When that country is prepared or preparing to attack, there must be imminence. The imminence of war must be shown. And therefore, under such circumstances, we do preemptive strike or preventive attack. That is allowed in international law, right? But then the use of force must also be justified. There must be use ad bellum. The justification for attack must be clear. And it must be authorized also by a competent authority, that is, the state. In this circumstance, the War Powers Act in the U.S. enjoins the Congress to pronounce war, not the president. And then he pronounced war and went in. He's pronouncing war on Mexico and Colombia. He's pronouncing war on Denmark to take Greenland. Where in the world of our newfound kind of global system can we find justification for what is being done? So it is purely unjustifiable. The fact that the man has engaged or is engaging in narcotics is not here or there. Where is the proof? We did the same thing to Saddam Hussein. Where was the proof? Even when the United Nations under Kofi Annan decided or tried to halt the attack, Bush decided to go in. And we are seeing this thing again. Now the second part of the question, the whole world seems to be angry. People are afraid, one way or the other. But the point is this, that we must call a spade if we want the multilateral system that we are under, which has given us long peace, to continue. Other than that, this unilateral action can bring about fragmentation, and geopolitics will kill the world. We'll go into the kind of world in which there is no justice, there is no, order. And an orderless world is a third world war.
Right. Let me bring in Professor Daniel Dramani Kipu as well. Prof, I appreciate you for staying with us as well. And he's joining us via Zoom, I must mention. Prof, we've had Dr. Vladimir speak extensively to what the situation is. But at the heart of it as well, some say this goes back to the long-ranging conversation about a reform to the UN and how things are done there, considering the fact that it looks like it's a toothless bulldog right now and can't really do anything.
Yes, that's what it looks, but I think UN still remain a very important multilateral platform for the world, and that is the hope of the world. And UN has actually worked very well since 1945 from its formation. It is just the very thing that killed the League of Nations, the earlier one, is where we are heading towards when states adopt unilateral action and try to evoke their principle of might. And so that is the danger that we are coming in. Of course, the right thing that we expected was that use of force should be authorized by the UN Security Council. And the UN Security Council, of which United States is a veto member, did not pass through that channel because they know what they are going to do will not get the approval of the UN Security Council. And that is exactly why they are operating outside the unilateral. They're doing so unilaterally. But multilateral is the best. UN certainly is the best for us. And I think that the Security Council need to set up not just issuing a threat, but sometimes a week to be able to take on some of these countries that go unilateral. But as we said, the United States is becoming much more like a superpower, and that is where they are able to do all this thing and go scot-free. And the other nations are not able to stand up. But this is the time that we expect China, Russia to also come up if they can. Otherwise, I think we are heading towards a wrong direction.
But can any of these other superpowers decide to rise up without further escalating tensions? You know, we've been at the brink of conversations at some point as to a possible world war again, and what have you. Can any of these nations very realistically rise up and stand up against the military might of the US? And where does this leave the rest of the third world countries when a superpower can decide to get into your country, arrest your leader, and the world will just look on? We've seen the Ukraine situation, and now we're seeing Venezuela.
Yeah, so the problem we have is that the superpowers, what Trump is doing, they are equally preparing to do the same. Russia, for instance, is not able to do because of Ukraine. They are equally exercising the same power. Donbass, Luhansk, Crimea, all this eastern corridor, they are taking over those parts. And that is Russia's unilateral action. And that Russia's ability to condemn US and move in becomes a problem. China, which is the next powerful. Geopolitics, China is also preparing, doing all their drills, their military drills, with the intention to take over Taiwan. So that is where we are. So it's like all of them are adopting the same, and that is becoming the new world order, where might is right. China will take over Taiwan, Russia will take over Ukraine, America want to take over Venezuela, the oil sector, manage it. How do you manage oil for somebody who, Venezuela never said they cannot manage their oil. Are you getting me? So that is unilateralism, that is the big threat to the world peace. And this is what the superpowers are doing. And it's very worrisome. We in the third world, we don't have the power. We can only condemn. But those who have the power are more or less following the new world order of unilateralism. And that is certainly an affront. That is not a way that we can get. We cannot secure world peace through these unilateral actions of superpowers.
Right. Let me bring this home, and I'll ask you this, and then I'll ask Dr. Vladimir Chidanso the same question as well. In bringing this home, we've seen the statement as issued by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. In one breath, there are conversations as to the path upon which we're on as a nation. The statement in itself is very clear, non-aligned movement and all of that. But there's that teething concern as to why the statement and it being disproportionate to an extent. What do you make of that statement which was issued by our Foreign Affairs Ministry and where it positions us in the sub-region in all of these global conversations as well?
Yeah, I think the ministry statement, I read it, is very well worded, and I think that is the position. Ghana will not want to condemn openly US, and also do not want to align to the West and not too much to the East. And Ghana will always maintain the traditional foreign policy of non-alignment. And so the statement will have in that way. But the importance of it is that the government of Ghana through the ministry is condemning the act, at least saying that that is not the right way. The sovereignty of Venezuela has not been held. And I think that is the good part of it. It is better to cease, condemn it, and at least call for order, peace, and stability. Because today is Venezuela. Who knows tomorrow where it will be? Maybe Greenland, or Panama, or any other country, or Colombia. Or it could also be Nigeria. We saw what happened on December 25th, the strike. So it is something that, but I think that it should not be limited to only individual states, ECOWAS, AU. That is a very formidable one. We should see the regional body speaking, and that will add more weight to what the member states are doing.
Prof, thank you very much. Let me return to Doc quickly on that same question as to the statement and what you made of the country's position as well.
I strongly believe that Ghana has given the appropriate statement at the appropriate time. You know, Ghana's foreign policy is pivoted on 4 pillars. And at any time that we want to issue statements, we look at on which pillar we are leaning. Pan-Africanism, non-alignment, good neighborliness, and multilateralism. On this occasion, I think Ghana is leaning more on multilateralism, not on non-alignment. Multilateralism because we believe that the multilateralist system works better for all countries. And Ghana is saying that, hey, look, we have a multilateralist, we are multilateralists, we belong to the UN. The UN Charter does not allow you to do what you did. So please, you are wrong, revert to the status quo. And people are believing that Ghana shouldn't have been bold enough to say this. No, in international relations, all countries are equal.
Right.
Very equal before international law. So Ghana is doing what any other country should be able to do. That if we want to save this multilateralist system, this liberal order, then we need to behave the way we should behave according to the Charter of the UN. So I don't see what wrong Ghana has committed. I mean, we haven't done anything wrong. And we have done what others should be able to do also to support us.
Doc, thank you very much. That's Dr. Vladimir Nchidanso speaking to us earlier as well. Had Professor Dramani Kipo as well join us on what is a very important conversation. The other aspect of it, people asking questions what this could mean if another superpower or big nation like France decides to sweep through West Africa with its French ties with a number of West African countries. These and more are the many conversations that are being had on the back of this particular subject matter. But we can as well bring you some other matters in relation to the news here on News Central.
Now, back home, the University of Ghana has been ordered to, with immediate effect, reverse its 25% increase in fees. The university has been further ordered to refund all students who paid the excess fees in what the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission describes as a flagrant breach of rules guiding fee increases and implementation. According to the Commission, the action by the University of Ghana comes despite a notice to all universities in the country to avoid charging fees without prior approval. In a statement, GTEC ordered University of Ghana to reverse the additional fees charged, stating a failure to do so will see the university sanctioned. Well, let's show you a bit more of what GTEC has ordered the University of Ghana to do. Remember that we told you already on November 3 of 2025, GTEC had written to public universities in this country on the subject matter about increase in fees. The University of Ghana issue began sometime last week. Now we know that as GTEC promised to write to the university, that letter has been written, and these are the orders to the University of Ghana. Reverse any fee increases and or dues immediately, credit all continuing students who have overpaid compared to last academic year's fees for the next academic year. We also know that is asking a refund of the difference to final year students who have paid in excess of the fees for last academic year, and also revert all dues, including SRC and GRASAC dues, to last academic year's rates. Remember that the Pro-Vice Chancellor had indicated that the biggest change in the fees came from the student governance structure, the SRC and GRASAC. And now GTEC is saying, look, reverse all of those to last year's rates. And is also asking the University of Ghana to suspend any new fees such as the 75th anniversary dues and development levy if newly introduced, except for those that were already in place. The fees must be set at the last academic year's rate. And over here, GTEC is referring to those third-party costs, which include the SRC hostel development levy and then telecell data reprographic fee of 5 cedis. GTEC continues to say that you are hereby requested to provide GTEC with evidence of compliance not later than January 12th. So the University of Ghana has up to next week to be able to do this, failure of which will result in the Commission instituting serious regulatory sanctions against the University of Ghana. Let's have a quick chat with Executive Secretary of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who's criticized Ghana's failure to fully enforce compulsory basic education. Kofi, let's talk about the situation that has developed between the University of Ghana, its students, and now with the involvement of GTEC. For you at EduWatch, what has been the readings you've made into this so far?
Well, on both sides, there are various reasons. There's a reason the University of Ghana obviously has increased its fees. And as you are aware, the statement from the tech alludes to the reasons that the University of Ghana has. Our tertiary institutions must run in conclusion, and they have to run. And so we find that in running, they generate various fee handles. They come up with various fees handles to generate cash, So that is right. We accept that. But on the other hand, there's also a legal regime. A legal regime that regulates the charging of fees and charges. Fees and Charges Act of Parliament requires that government institutions, public agencies, including the universities, are proud to increasing their fees or charging fees, must seek parliamentary approval. Last week, my checks from the leaders of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education on this matter indicated that there was no such, approval from Parliament. And so obviously it means that the University of Ghana, if it has a strong justification for the fee increment, will have to go through the proper provisions of the law and the procedures of the law, and then seek the necessary parliamentary approval and regulatory consent before imposing the new fees.
I see. Kofi, does this parliamentary approval also cover third-party fees like the SRC fees, the SRC dues, the student SRC hostel development levy and the likes? What the university describes third-party fees?
My understanding is that once a fee is being charged by the university, to the extent that the fee imposes financial obligations onto students, it's subject to the dictates of the Fees and Charges Act. It doesn't matter whether it is a third-party fee being charged to the university or not, because the essence of this law is to ensure that we have a framework for regulating and, if possible, harmonizing fees charged by public agencies, including our universities, so that we maintain the financial implications, the implications on equitable access, affordability, etc., by those who consume the product of the university. And so it doesn't matter the nomenclature or the category of fees, while it is part of the university's fee structure, imposing a financial burden on students, it is subject to the approval of Parliament.
I see. Just a couple more things. Will it be in the interest of the university at this time to adhere to the warnings from GTEC at this time?
Well, you see, this is not the first time this is happening. But many times you find that there's normally a gap between how much the universities would need from government to run effectively and then how much Parliament is willing to approve or Parliament is approving. Many times that's what the constitution is about. But here's the case where it hasn't even hit Parliament. It hasn't even gone through the process. So it's not a case that Parliament is leaning towards approving a certain amount, which is short of what is required to run the university effectively. We are not even there. And so we must encourage, our laws to work, because the laws are there for various reasons. So regardless of justification, regardless of the essence, I acknowledge that, yes, it's important that adequate funding is available for institutions to run and run effectively. But in generating these adequate funds, in imposing fees on students, we must do so within the confines of the law.
Kofi, at this time, we can describe what is happening as a standoff between the University of Ghana and GTEC, given the backdrop and chronology of events since last week. What are your expectations of the Education Ministry, which hasn't spoken yet?
I think that first, my expectation was that GTEC should have issued this statement much earlier. Much earlier. People have already, many have already paid. Deadlines for University of Ghana admissions, many of the deadlines were on 5th today. And so many have already paid. Very few people wait and pay such money on the last day. So the tech will have to be proactive. We saw this increment long ago, about a week ago. So the tech will have to be proactive even before we see it, because they are the regulator. They have eyes and noses on all tertiary campuses under their regulation. And so we want to see much more proactivity in that respect. And in this case, not only University of Ghana, but other universities that are minded or that may be in the process of emulating what University of Ghana is doing. The second is that we've seen the directive asking UG to, indicate compliance. Yes, it is good that they're indicating to UG they must provide evidence of compliance. And compliance will mean refunding the money that they have paid illegally to them. That's for us, is the meaning of compliance, and that should be done. And we expect the University of Ghana to hit Parliament. Start engaging the Ministry of Education and the Select Committee on this matter, and then hit Parliament, and then go through the process, look at case, and then see how people can negotiate and get approval of Parliament for the amount that Parliament would deem fit to approve. But for now, the right thing must be done, and that's what the regulator, is requesting of the University of Ghana.
Very well, Kofi, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure is mine.
Kofi Asare is Executive Secretary of the Africa Education Watch. You're still here on News Central. We'll take a very fast break. And when we come back, we'll talk about this man whose death has shocked many outside of his circle. That coming up shortly. Don't go away.
Why are more and more
Glad that you could stay with us and join us here on News Central. Bringing you some more stories this afternoon. And let's get straight into it, because the late Member of Parliament for Ayawaso East, Nasir Tur, has been laid to rest at the Medina Muslim Cemetery in accordance with Islamic tradition. As part of the burial procedure, a Janazah prayer was held at the Ayawaso East constituency office of the NDC along the Kanda Highway. The prayer was led by the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Osman Nuhu Shaributu, and attended by family members, colleagues, party officials, and residents from the constituency. Following the prayer, the body of the late legislator was later conveyed to the Medina Cemetery, where he was buried in line with Islamic tradition. The 60-year-old member of NDC side is a native of Kwe in the Nkwanta South District of the Uti region. He reportedly died at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a period of illness. It was his fourth term in Parliament following or having entered the House in 2013, representing the people of Ayawaso East. Meanwhile, some party bigwigs and members of Parliament have thronged the residence of the late MP to pay their last respects. My colleague George Queenan interacted with a number of them.
When the new Parliament started, I was secretary and he became chairman because our chairman Neil Ante van der Poy was no longer there. And then when I was appointed minister, I had to leave that position. But this was my chairman of my caucus. It was someone who we had fantastic relations with. I was just telling my colleagues that about 4 weeks ago, his wife and I were in a meeting in my office. No indication whatsoever that he was going to be leaving us this soon. It's still surreal. When I got the message yesterday, still couldn't believe that had happened. But Naza was a cheerful spirit, someone who was calm, and it's just sad. It's just sad.
My condolences to the bereaved family, NDC, the entire Ayawaso East, and Greater Accra at large. Naza has been a pillar of NDC. He is the caucus chairman of the Greater Accra MPs in Parliament. In fact, he doesn't talk. He's a humble person. And his project in the constituency, cannot be, left behind. And you could see the constituent, say a lot of things he has done. Naza always come to me as a regional minister to ask of slots for his constituents. What I keep on telling Naza, we all call it. So let's find means of getting slots for our constituents.
He was a grassroots person, very, very rooted with the constituency. The people love him. He runs his business very well. And he does well for people. And that is what this is all about, what you can do for people. And he was a unique one in doing it.
Well, in his constituency as well, his legacy is one that constituents have been sharing with my colleague Noura Mohammed.
This Parliament and the people of Ayawaso East are mourning the death of their Member of Parliament, Honorable Nasir Tur, a seasoned legislator and grassroots politician who served the constituency for over a decade. Popularly known as Mark Naza, the Nima-born Member of Parliament was first elected on the ticket of the NDC in 2012 and went on to win 4 consecutive terms. And throughout his time in Parliament, he built a reputation as a calm but firm voice, particularly on issues affecting urban communities, youth empowerment, infrastructure development, and the welfare of residents in our Zongo communities. And beyond politics, Nasir Tur was a businessman and a development-oriented leader whose work in Parliament included serving as Vice Chair of the Energy Committee, as well as member of several key parliamentary committees. He was known for his accessibility and hands-on approach to problem solving, championing projects in sanitation, roads, education, and community support. And here at Nima, we speak to some of his constituents, and they share with us how they will remember him.
Maknaza oye ni papa oye yebra peni ba kope wa nyama bebre.
He was a great person. He did a lot for the Nima community. We have really lost an important man. May God bless his soul.
No ondana ni obeba no ontimi nyane Maknaza ayeno onye na embroso ni ebeka no.
The death of the MP has really affected us because initially, you know, when you come to the, especially Nima, the 441, all the lungu, yeah, the lungu, it was like, oh, the place was really dirty and the rest, but he was the one who introduced this operation, cement your lungu. So now when you go to the Zongo side, the lungu all has been cemented and all the connects and everywhere has been cemented and everywhere is neat. So that's the one thing I would really remember him for. And he's really a good mind because whenever there is an event or something, he tries his best to contribute and contribute to the people and the rest. So he's really a good person. So we pray that Allah forgive him all his sins and also grant him the highest rank in Jannah, inshallah.
Maknaza, was a very good man to the community. In short, we don't know how to talk much about him. He look after the youth. He look after everybody, no matter who you are. You come to his place, his office, his house, at any time, it comes out and heard much about your concern. So we are really disturbed. We are sad with what happened.
I remember Maknaza because when he's on power, he do so many things for Ayawaso. It's something like this new market. He's the one who did it for us. I'm confused. Yes, the one I hear that our NP passed through, I'm confused. I can't do anything. But when I remember, I say everything is God. God call him. Although we like him, but God like him better than us.
So, muna gode ma Ubangiji mu Allah Jalla wa Ala da yau ga mun yi babban rashi.
We pray for him and hope that Allah pardons him and grants him paradise. He did so much for this community. The Ayawaso East MP passed away on Sunday, January 4, 2026 at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital after a short period of illness. And while no detailed medical cause has been officially disclosed, news of his death sent shockwaves through the country's political landscape and the communities in which he served. He is laid to rest on January 5, 2026 in accordance with Islamic traditions, leaving behind a legacy of service and a constituency now faced with the task of moving forward without one of its most influential political figures. Noura Mohammed for TV3 News, Accra.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the grieving family at this time. Away from that, Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, has said President Mahama has transformed Ghana's economy in his first year in office. Speaking to me on hot issues, the minister also said President Mahama's government has significantly reduced the cost of living with improved indicators of the economy.
Well, I think that we've acquitted ourselves quite well. And it is fairly easy to measure this sort of performance. You just need to look at where the country was barely a year ago and where we are today. And I think that any objective analyst, any objective observer would agree that the country is in a much better position than it was when we took over power. There are many things that you could look at. Look at the economy, for instance. And the economy is important because that was the single most important item for the Ghanaian voter when they went to the polls barely a year ago. All the things that you use to measure the performance of an economy are pointing in the right direction. Today, the biggest problem that people had, which was an ever-rising cost of living, has been significantly mitigated. There's evidence of reduction in the cost of living through the reduction in prices. The depreciation of the currency, which was a perennial problem and was one of the things that used to worry our economy the most, has been brought under control, such that for the first time in as many years that I can remember,
right,
the city is going to appreciate, is going to record an annual appreciation of close to 30%. And if you consider the fact that barely a year ago, the city had lost about 27% of its value, you find that we've made significant progress in that regard. And this has led to a lowering of prices across many sectors. Look at the energy sector, for instance. Right. Today, fuel is selling much cheaper than it was when we took over. Indeed, if you compare the situation to exactly a year ago, you find that the price of fuel has come down substantially. It has translated into lower transport fares than before. Inflation is at 6.3%. There's every indication that it may even come down further. Interest rates, when we came in, interest rates were hovering around 30%. Today is between 15 and 18%.
Now, President Mahama has condemned alleged settlement of an assault case meted out to a teacher by a student of the Kade Senior High School. Last year, a video emerged on social media showing the students brutally assaulting the teacher who reportedly denied them an opportunity to cheat in an exam. It is now emerging that the parents of the student have had an amicable settlement of the case initially reported to the police. Speaking at the 7th Quadrennial Delegates Congress of NAT, President Mahama expressed his disappointment at the students not undergoing any punitive sanction.
And a safe and secure working environment is a must. Indeed, I saw that video of I think it was a maths teacher being beaten because when he was invigilating, he refused to allow our children to cheat. And they had a sense of entitlement. And so why did you not allow us to cheat? And the unfortunate thing is that the matter went to the police station, and the parents of the students went to the police, and they said they settled the matter amicably. I mean, how is that? This is assault, it's criminal, you know. But when we inquired, the police also said, I think the teacher was compensated, so he didn't want to press charges anymore. But I said, at least the children should have been booked, they should have been taken through the legal process, and at least, if nothing at all, they should have been bonded to be of good behavior for a period of time. And then we'll believe that justice has been done. But just for parents to come and, you know, pay a little compensation, it will encourage others to do the same. You know, and so as for assaults on teachers, I am with you 100%. We will deal with it.
So live here on News Central. We're going for yet another break. When we return, a bit more stories for you, and then we take the show. Stay with us.
Welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. In other news, for many parents in rural Ghana, the farm is a classroom and the hoe a pencil. But as the world shifts towards a digital economy, a growing chorus of voices is pleading with the government to ensure that children in the hinterlands are not left behind in a curriculum that assumes every child has a desk and a roof. The disparity between urban endowed schools and rural deprived schools has reached a tipping point. Stakeholders are now calling for a radical shift in investment to ensure that a child in any remote village in the Bono East region can compete on the same global stage as a child in Accra or Kumasi.
Curriculum is uniform. The environment in which it is taught is anything but equal. According to a 2025 report by Africa Education Watch, EduWatch, over 5,400 basic schools across Ghana still operate in the trees, in sheds, or within dilapidated structures. Approximately 1.2 million pupils at the primary level lack seating or writing places. Nationally, the desk deficit stands at 40%. But in deprived regions, the figure skyrockets. The Bono East region is among the hardest hit. Recent data reveals a desk deficit of over 86,000 in public primary schools alone. In Kintampo North Municipality, for instance, there's a staggering shortage of nearly 17,000 desks, leaving thousands of children to learn on bare floor or on concrete blocks. Due to this alarming trend, stakeholders in the Bono East region are calling on government to invest more in rural education in order to help improve teaching and learning in the hinterland.
I will plead with the government to help kids in the rural areas because most of the parents in rural areas are mostly farmers and they don't really understand education, that they should educate their kids. So at times, they are deprived from a lot of things. So I'll urge the government to help them so that they can also compete with those in the urban areas.
Why would children in the developed areas, so to say, have that opportunity while children in the rural will be denied? So I think it's in the right direction for the government to invest more in the rural areas so that they'll also be able to pick up to the pace of their mates in the developed areas.
Beyond the bricks and mortar, they are advocating for an end to the culture of silence, mostly among rural children, due to their circumstances.
When always you silence the child from speaking from his heart, you don't know the child what is weakness. So always when you allow the child in such some conversation, you identify and you know some of the weakness and the strength of the child, then you can able to correct the child from his weakness or his strength.
Meanwhile, the regional director for the Ghana Library Authorities is urging parents to encourage children to master hard copy reading and writing to build a solid moral and intellectual foundation.
We are encouraging parents to let the children read the hard copy. And then when they get to the tertiary and they get their laptops and their tablets, they will know what to say.
As part of efforts to inculcate the attitude of public speaking among rural children, the Ghana Library Authority organized a spelling competition among 13 schools across the 2 districts of the regional capital.
Now, the paramount chief of Chiana and president of the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs, P. Ditundini Adiali Aigitam III, has urged government to support in addressing the declining educational outcomes in traditional area. Speaking at the 14th celebration of the Chiana Fowl Festival, the traditional ruler said children in the area continue to face significant barriers to accessing quality education. My colleague Kasu Senyala was there and filed this report.
The Chiana Fowl Festival is celebrated annually by the chiefs and people of the Chiana traditional area in the Upper East region. Each year, chiefs and people converge to thank the gods for a bumper harvest and to celebrate their rich culture and traditions while calling for peace and unity. This year's celebration was anchored on reflecting on education as a tool for sustainable development. The Chiana Pio Ped Tundini Adiali Ayagatam III bemoaned the challenges in accessing education in the area.
While the issues that affect quality education may not be unique to only my traditional area, I am hugely worried about the situation in my community. The challenges include inadequate and weak educational infrastructure in many of the basic schools and even in the oldest senior high school in the Kasana-Ghana West district. The China Senior High School continues to run general science courses without the science laboratories. The school also lacks a suitable administration block to operate from.
With a population of nearly 40,000, Chana is one of the largest towns in the Kasana-Ghana West district of the Upper East region. However, access to quality healthcare remains a challenge, as the Oli Health Center, built in the early 70s, has not undergone any major renovation. This situation compels residents to travel long distances to access healthcare services. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Samuel Kaba Akoria, indicated that the health center would be renovated.
His Excellency the President talks about resetting agenda, and that is about change of mind. If we don't change our mind, what will happen is we cannot maintain and we cannot sustain. So I'm happy to say that because of that, the health center, the eye clinic, and many other things that is due us will be renovated, will be equipped, and we will be better people.
While China has achieved key milestones in education, progress, especially in the basic education certificate examination in recent years, has declined. In an address delivered on behalf of the President, Majority Leader and Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Ayarga, reiterated the government's commitment to making quality education accessible to all children in Ghana.
Education is both a development imperative and a shared moral duty. Accelerated education must therefore deliver quality, relevance, discipline, and measurable outcomes, ensuring that every child in China, the Upper East, and across Ghana has a fair opportunity to learn, acquire practical skills.
TV3 News, Castro Sinyala, China, Kasana-Ghana West District.
That's our bulletin for you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. We're back again, God willing, tomorrow. I am Awena Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Bye-bye.